A second and go ahead.
All right, we're live. What's going on? Y'all doing all right?
Hey, good evening.
Doing good.
All right, I want to welcome everybody to the first episode of the Encounter Brigade. We are a group of individuals that met basically over our interest in the topic of Sasquatch. And basically, we all got together and decided that we were going to do a podcast and start a YouTube channel. A couple of us have had sightings. Some of us have been doing investigations. I'm basically just going to go through and introduce or talk about some of the team members and how we all got started. But I'm Jonny TwoBears, and basically the years are kind of not very specific for me because there was a very long time to where I just kind of ignored a lot of things that were going on. But for quite a while around my property, I had some really odd activity, and in trying to figure out what was going on, it basically all led down the path of it being Sasquatch activity. So I guess I had been listening to podcasts, looking at everything online, blah, blah, blah. And about 2019 is when I decided to start actually branching out and trying to get out and find the signs that I was seeing in other areas. And it just so happens that in one group had an individual named Al Benisaki from Canada. And basically he was driving from Florida back to Canada, and he was going through Georgia and said, "Hey, does anybody want to go look for Bigfoot with me? I'm going to be in Georgia." And I'm like, "Heck yeah. let's go to the woods with this random guy from Canada and look for Bigfoot." Sounds like a great idea.
What could go wrong?
Right. So me and Al got together. We met. I picked out a few places on the map, and at the time I really had no idea what I was doing. I just picked spots that looked good, and we went to a few of them, and we didn't find much of anything, but that's kind of where it all started. Him and I are still friends today, and he plans on coming back to Georgia whenever they open everything back up in Canada. He's going to come back down. We're going to get back in the field again. Anyway, that's really where it all started for me, getting out in the field. And then when I got back from going out with him, I thought, man, you know what? I need to start a Facebook group just to find other people to go out with. And that's pretty much what I did, just for my state. It's a small group. It's still small today. But I actually met another guy. He's actually my research partner, Mike Taylor. He is a mountain climber and a professional. I guess he's an adventure athlete, basically. And so him and I have been going out together for probably about a year and a half now. And he is a part of the Encounter Brigade. We have another person who he goes by Levi. He has had stuff happen on his property for years, and he just wants to be a part of the group to help out on the side. He doesn't want anybody really to know who he is or where his property is and all that, but he is a part of it. He's connected to a pretty well-known Bigfoot group, a lot of friends in there, but he's just kind of there that when we do have people, hopefully, that will come to us and tell us their experiences, he's kind of waiting just to talk to people. And, if they need help, it helps, especially when you got them on your property. It helps to not go crazy by talking to other people who experience the same stuff. So that's what he's there for. And you see me looking down. I'm trying to go down the list. But Angie, do you want to explain how you got involved?
Well, I just grew up being fascinated by the subject. Movies, like The Legend of Boggy Creek and stuff like that as a kid, and in search of. I've just always been fascinated. And then about 20 years ago, I came across a report of one in South Georgia, and it was a very convincing report. think he was at Rude Park, I think was the name of it. And after that, and then, of course, Finding Bigfoot came out, and I watched all of that, and just always been fascinated.
Didn't you say something about your brothers?
Yes, it's been many years ago now. They were cruising timber in Odessa, Georgia, and they were way in the middle of the woods on a deer trail, and spotted some weird hair, like 7 foot up in several trees down a path.
Huh.
So Tim, my brother, reached up and gathered as much hair as he could get, and they were just like, let's ask Angie, because is this horse hair? This is some weird looking hair. And so I looked at it and I was like, that is definitely not horse hair. I don't know what kind of hair that is, but it was black, wiry.
How old were
It
you?
was about, do what now?
How old were you?
Oh, this was probably 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Not too long ago. I thought that was
No.
when you were a kid. Huh.
No. No, but it was before, the topic got to be so widespread and discussed. Back then we didn't get on the internet and look for everything, answers to everything. So
Right.
My brothers ended up sending the hairs off, and I don't know where they sent them. I'll have to ask them, but they ended up going to a lab, I believe in Texas, and they said they could not match the hairs to any animal in their database.
Really?
And they actually, yes, and they sent them a letter back and told them they had no match, and asked them to go back and try to find more because they wanted more.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wish I was into it then like I am now, because I would have they didn't send all the hair. They kept part of it, but they don't know what they did with it. But they have the letter and the hair that they didn't send in, but they don't know where they put it. So hopefully they'll come across it one day.
That would be cool.
But yeah.
Wow.
So the more I've looked up stuff and read reports and, started meeting people myself that have had encounters, I'm convinced 100% they exist. I don't know what they are, but I do know, I feel like they do exist. So
yeah, I just kind of fill in some blanks. I actually kind of recruited Angie. I saw her, I don't even know what, it was just another page, and she had done a report, and it was
just by myself. I did start doing my own reports.
Yeah, I saw she was from Georgia, and the report looked really good, professional. And I'm just like, hey, I got a little group. Why don't you come on over and help me out? And Angie actually came out and went to an area that's very close to my property. And she drove up here. How many hours?
3 hours.
To go looking for Bigfoot again. And there was 2 other guys there with me. So it was 3 guys that she didn't even know. And she brought her dog, came out there, and we looked around the area. I still go to the area now and have collected, some pretty good evidence from there. But that's how we met. And I was like, yep, Angie's tough. Glad she's on my team. So anybody who watched the first video that I put out several weeks ago about what we were doing, the guy who's been sitting idly by, not saying much there, his name is Joe Cayley. And this is basically episode 1 is his story. And it is about where he came from, what he's seen, and what we're going to do in the future. So, Joe, if you want to, just kind of take it away. Tell everybody basically what you did, what you're doing now, and then your sighting.
All right. Thanks, Jonny and Angie. Finally good to actually be on the podcast, kicking off the Encounter Brigade. I know this has been a long time coming, trying to get all this done, and then
like our third attempt at trying to do this.
Yeah. By no means are we professional podcasters. Honestly, it's we're cool enough that we have flags behind us. So
right. We got flags made.
Yeah. So at least we match in that sense.
Right.
But yeah. So if you see on the bottom of my screen there, it says CPT captain. So I'm a retired infantry officer, United States Army.
Joe,
Go
hold on
ahead.
1 second.
Go ahead,
Angie,
John.
do you have headphones?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No.
You turn your volume down just a little bit because I'm actually hearing us talk through your speakers.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Soundman. Okay. All right. So here we'll go back. Yeah, I'm retired infantry officer, United States Army. Right. Served overseas. I was wounded in 2009. The result of that injury. Yeah, I was a limb salvage patient for many years. However, this past January, I went through elective amputation because my lower left leg, was not getting any better from ID explosion. So from January till just about a month ago, I was in rehab. Leg was amputated, Walter Reed. Then I went down to Fort Sam Houston for rehab and prosthetics care. And that's when we started kicking off the idea about this podcast. That's because, you have a lot of time to think, and this subject keeps coming to my mind about the sighting, the incident that I have, and then the reason why I reached out to Jonny, so I'd share one of the cool little prosthetic leg of mine. I'm super proud of it. It's only a size 10. It's not a Bigfoot.
Yeah, he's gonna get a measuring tape put on the back of it. That way, when he's out in the field researching, he can measure the tracks.
Yeah. So
a Swiss Army leg.
So, anyways, you know what? Being an infantry officer, and then before an officer, I was an enlisted infantryman. Served in some of the greatest infantry units, 75th Regiment, and RTB as an instructor. But anyways, I now am medically retired, and about over 3 years ago, I was contracted by a company that just purchased the name rights to a very large and prestigious sniper competition. I had competed in myself several times in the past, and so I was always a big fan of that competition. And so when the new owners said, "Hey, Captain, what can you do to make this bigger and better?" I always thought, well, what, change of location would be kind of neat, and it'd be nice to be able to bring it onto a military installation. So I worked tirelessly almost every day from the time it was purchased, even all the way up to for a year, getting this competition set out with a small team that I had to work with. And but anyways, in May. So ironically, this is just now turning June, and so like last month was May, and I think about it often because I was on the military range with several shooters, and I was acting as a spotter, meaning they were shooting high powered tactical rifles at steel targets, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 yards away. Um, that day, it's a bright, sky blue day. Um, I'm standing there next to the range safety officer, and we're giving instructions to all the shooters on the line. I got a tripod sitting in front of me with a spotting scope, and as I'm looking down at the 1,000-yard targets, and these two shooters are, one to my left, one to my right. They're alternating shots at two different steel targets. So as they were shooting at something, or at a target, I would have to move my spotting scope to look at the other target, back and forth. But anyways, um, you have an impact berm right behind the targets, and I forgive my silly little drawing, but I kind of just want to kind of give you guys a
no. I think everybody, even 5 minutes into this, knows we're not professionals at doing this stuff.
Yeah. So here's some shooters, right? and here they are shooting at targets 1,000 yards away, and this is a berm, right? Big raised mound of dirt basically, and the bullets impact into that. Now behind that was a little bit of opening, and in that opening was a service road or a fire break that ran away from us. Now through a spotting scope, I could see down that service road for several hundred yards. Um, like I said, it was clear day, but as they
But
were
you have
shooting,
we'll bust in here real quick, and this is
right, Johnny?
one of the parts that was great for me. I could visualize, but you even made it better. You sent me a picture of the moon through the spotting scope.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
people who don't understand exactly how good a spotting scope is.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that part. Or we're gonna show this video of the moon that I was able to capture with
Okay.
my cell phone through the spotting scope. But anyways, I had seen a tall, two-legged bipedal individual thing cross this service road while I had two active shooters in front of me, firing high power rifles downrange in its direction. Now this thing crossed this dirt road as if, I mean, it wasn't running, it didn't jump, it didn't leap, it just walked. It did, there was no exaggeration in its stepping, but it only took like 1.5 strides to even get across this road. And this dirt road is about as wide as a Humvee.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's made by a very large dozer, goes in there and just clears the brush. And you know what? At that moment, I had to ask the uh, range safety officer, "Did you see that?" And I called out ceasefire. Yeah, he called out ceasefire. All the shooters on the range had to stop firing. He himself looked through my spotting scope and was able to see something moving through the brush, and he did not know what it was and why it was there.
Right.
He was able to call and ask if there were any other active ranges or any active uh, repairs going on in any other parts of the military range. So now this is why I ended up reaching out to Johnny in the first place. When I saw his page and I saw that he was a prior service member, a Marine, I said, okay, this guy would understand what I'm about to tell him. I'm telling him that we're on a military fire range. We had active shooters shooting downrange, and something strolled across a road.
It's a
And
huge deal.
it is. It is. It is a huge safety concern. So imagine, as you will, a pie plate, and on a very typical military range, what you'll have is this: you'll have a service road or a range road that goes around the perimeter, and then you have individual ranges, and then all the shooters shoot into what's called a small arms impact area. So this is like, you know, if your bullets were to go over the berm, they could only travel so far before they hit Earth again. And that's
Right.
what this whole area is here. Now, on this military installation, that impact area is huge, very huge. Um, now, if I was a repair guy or a timber cruiser, having to do work on the impact range or another range, I would have to get permission from a centralized range control office and say, hey, I'm going to go work on XYZ range. And, they would let you work on the range, but you cannot cross the berm and go into the
Right.
small arms impact area. I mean, it is there for safety. However, on that day, on the day that I had my sighting, there were no other active ranges at all. It was only one range was in use, and it was the one we were on. So no one had checked in on any other ranges, and no one should have been walking across an impact area back there. And so what's that that really bothered me. I I tried reaching out to via Google, trying to find like a local Bigfoot group or something like that, just kind of share this story. And then, but they didn't really have any interest. I mean, I think they were more of like a social club,
Right,
and
it's
yeah,
crazy to me because all the
it is.
other stuff that comes together with it, which I know I'm
Yeah,
breaking in there, but all the stuff coming together with this, it should
yeah,
have been. I don't know what they were thinking, but
yeah.
anyway,
So I end up, I guess like everyone else, I go to Google, I type Bigfoot sightings near the area where I'm at, and sure enough, two sighting. BFRO, what the Bigfoot Research Organization, has a big database,
right,
and in that database it breaks down by state and counties and whatnot. And so sure enough, I was able to look and see like, wow, there are two sightings on this same installation. One was in the late 60s, one was in the late 70s, 79, I believe. And as I was reading one of the reports, I noticed um, a geographic feature called South Prong Creek stood out. And so, sure enough, I went to my topo map of the base, which I had been using every day to help pick out routes for this sniper competition. For the competitors, have to walk from A to B. But anyway, so that creek was less than one click away from where I saw this large being cross this road during a live fire. Now, uh, when I reached out to Jonny and I told him about all this, he knew right away the severity of this, and it still bothers me today because an incident such as this, people can lose their jobs over. Um, uh, units when you go to train and you have a training incident and stuff like that. I mean, that can affect your evaluations. But
right,
anyways, long story short, I mean, I know what I saw, and I know it should not have been there. It should not have been walking back there.
right,
Um, and it always sticks with me. I'm like, what the heck is that?
right.
So, anyways, um, I wanted to
And you
share
said
what.
what was the when
So
you said it stepped across the road? How many steps did you say it took?
it took like like a step and a half to even get across. I mean, it was uh, it, it wasn't like an exaggerated walk. I mean, or
Right,
run. I mean, it was just it was going from point A to point B with a purpose, but it wasn't running. It wasn't moving fast. It was just like that large stroll.
right,
And that's what kind of gets me. I'm like, because you know what? If it was a human and you heard high power rifles being shot in your direction, you're probably going to take cover. You're probably going to wave your arms, you know, probably going to hit the deck, you know. There was none of that. It was just walking.
Well,
Uh,
whenever after you contacted me and you told me uh, your story, and I shared a little bit with my wife, and she got it, she understood it, but I'm like, no, no, I don't think you're understanding. In order for a human being to be where this creature was, just imagine that you are on the beach and you're sunbathing, and then you see a great white shark come swimming up with a kitten on its back playing a guitar. That's how out of place anybody on the face of the planet. It just shouldn't happen. That area is like, this is
yeah,
job losing,
yeah,
life or death serious.
yeah,
Not to
yeah,
mention not to mention the fact you've got two other BFRO sightings within a mile, and then you also had another one. There's four
yeah,
sightings in that area.
yeah, yep. And I'll get to that. So, so um, y- so I estimated the range to this thing being 1,300 yards away from me. Now I was viewing our two shooters through this, which is a Leupold Mark IV. This is the military spot and scope. Um, you know, here's a big piece of glass, right?
Hmm.
And it is. It's pretty high quality, you know. It's a 60 power magnification, um, you know, an 80 millimeter objective lens, so obviously gathers a lot of light. Very clear picture.
Right.
So, anyways, I uh, I wanted to give Jonny and Angie a demonstration of, you know, the power of this spotting scope, um, you know, and what I'm able to see through it. So yeah, I pulled up something here. I was using a phone scope adapter, which goes on the back of the scope here. You're able to attach a cell phone or a camera to the back of this, and on camera settings, you can record or take pictures through the spotting scope. You know, so one night on a full moon, I decided, okay, I'm gonna step outside and get a picture of the moon. And I know I'd sent some stills to Jonny, and then
Yep.
but this is you know, this is just a video through the spotting scope, so you can see. I mean, it can see pretty darn good here. Um,
That's amazing.
yeah, and so, you know, so that's the moon. Now it's sitting on on a tripod out in my front lawn. I'm not moving it. That's the actual moon moving, right?
Right.
As the Earth's rotating, you know. That was me just pushing the record button, basically. But yeah, that is the magnifications you're able to get with this.
And that was another impressive part of your story, is that I knew exactly the kind of stuff you were dealing with and just how good of a look you got at this thing.
Yeah, you know,
And that picture right there shows, I mean,
yeah,
it's
I
kind
mean,
of self-explanatory, but
yeah, folks. I mean, you know, you can go look up, you know, Leupold Mark IV spot and scope. I mean, this, and like I said, just, you know, it's what we use in the military and whatnot. But anyways, it it's it's not a cheap piece of equipment. It's a very expensive, high quality piece of optic. Um, you know, you know, you're not going to find this at Wally World and whatnot. You know, if you do, let me know.
yeah.
But anyways, uh, yeah, you know, seeing what I saw at 1,300 yards away through this, um, you know, I had a good look. It wasn't something that was, it wasn't a person in denim. It wasn't a thing in uniform.
Right.
You know, this had like a grayish brown tinge hair look to it. It was not a ghillie suit. It was not that, you know. Um,
How tall do you
again,
think it was, if you had to
I,
guess?
I estimate this thing had to be 7.5, 8 feet tall, just by. So after the incident, you know, I was able to get a UTV and drive down, uh, you know, to this area. Um, couldn't really see any tracks or whatnot, you know, but you know, the trees and whatnot lining the side of the road, you just kind of tell how tall they were. I'm like, all right, this head, you know, the head on this thing was up to this branch here, there, whatnot. So yeah, you know, it was substantially taller than, uh, you know, than most people. You know, so like I said, 7.5, 8 feet. But the thing is, this thing had very long arms. You know, well past its thigh. Um, you know, and it just had that, you know, like it was like a stroll. Like I don't know, like I hate to say, like, you know, that Patterson video or whatnot. You know,
Yeah, it's a good reference because most people know what you're talking about. So
yeah, you know, but I mean, it had that kind of sway with the arms. Excuse me while I'm putting the spotting scope down. But anyways, I mean, it kind of had that sway to its arms, and you know that has bothered me. So now remember, this is in May, right? The actual sniper competition didn't happen until the following January. Yeah, and the purpose of that is it's always held in the coldest months of the year, because the competitors, not only did they have to ruck, meaning carry all their equipment on their backs from point A to point B, and they go darn near 40 miles in the course of 3 days, and that, you know, along the way they have to stop at shoot at different ranges. But anyways, they have to also sleep out at night, and in an area that we had designated as a bivouac site, the camping site. All the competitors, at the end of the day, when they got done shooting, they would have to ruck back, right, to the bivouac site, which was located near some support buildings. They would have to turn in all their all their ammunition and whatnot. They would you know eat, take care of their feet, do whatever, go to bed. Um, you know, the staff, that ran the event, you had to make sure everyone was accounted for. You didn't want to have anyone roaming out out on this base. Um, you know, one of the reasons why was, there's a very large, 3-letter government agency complex here, and one of the stipulations in being able to conduct this event on the installation was, you know, how are we going to make sure that I didn't have a competitor in the middle of the night go crazy and try to go attack this 3-letter agency complex. So one was, we're going to collect all the ammunition. All of the ammo gets turned into a central building, um, and locked up with some staff at night. Uh, Two, we actually had to do a head count of everyone who had turned into the bivouac site, so all bodies were accounted for. Now, if a competitor quit, because the competition was too hard for them, obviously, yeah, they were done, and we would be able to mark them off our roster sheet.
It's an extremely controlled environment.
Oh yeah, you have a large supporting staff that helps run this competition. So that yeah, so at night, our support staff, we would have meals delivered to us, and as we're sitting there going over the day's events, briefing for the next day's events, counting scores, whatnot, getting equipment ready. We did everything for the competitors, from going out and using artillery simulators to kind of keep them up at night. So we're shooting these big artillery size canisters, and they just make a loud boom. Just it would keep things up. Yeah, it was meant more like a psychological mind game to the competitors. Right. Now the two ladies that had brought the meals to us, they had to bring them around that range road, that perimeter road, drop them off to us, and they were leaving. As they left, it was about 10 p.m. I get a phone call, and from one of them, and they said, "Hey, do you have any competitors out?" Because they didn't know if we had any night operations. I said no. I said all the competitors are in the bivouac area, and there should be no one out there. And the demeanor of their phone call quickly changed, because when they realized, okay, it wasn't a competitor in a ghillie suit trying to cross the road in front of them. All they can just tell me goes, well, maybe it was just the bear. so
how many times has that said in this topic?
Yeah, so I mean, the problem. So this was, as they described it, we had one of the support staff, and he's a real tall former soldier and whatnot, and everyone's always called him Sasquatch. I mean, big feet kind of guy, big burly beard, so his nickname's always been Sasquatch. But so when this lady describes to me over the phone, she goes, well, we just saw a person about as tall as Sasquatch in a ghillie suit trying to cross the road at a certain road marker. But when they came down that road, with headlights on, caught it. This thing did an about face and went back the other way. So, I just kind of put that back in my memory bank, and then the next day, when I saw the two, I said, "Hey, can you guys show me on the map exactly where it was?" Um, and they pointed right to a spot. Now that spot on the roadway. Now, they were on a hardball, meaning a paved road, blacktop road. Um, has a creek that crosses right at that right at that area, and that creek is called South Prong Creek. So remember that South Prong Creek is where a soldier in 1979 had a sighting on this installation. South Prong Creek is less than a click from where I had my sighting in May, and they just saw this thing trying to cross that road along this creek in January. Uh, that has stuck with me, and for me to contact Johnny and say, you know what, hey, I'm retired now. You know what, um, I'm still respected in the community, respected in the veteran service community. I work now in the outdoor industry with a hunting show. Um, you know, I'm just going to share my story, and you know what? So be it. Because at the end of the day, I know what I saw. I have two witnesses that saw something that they are trying to process.
Well,
They want to call it.
you got 4 reports in the same area, man. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah,
it does not get much better than that when it comes to supporting evidence.
yeah,
And it's just
so they want to they want to try to maybe make them feel like, okay, they're not losing it. Oh, it was, maybe it was a bear.
right.
you know but it's ah yeah,
Well, the even crazier part, and I didn't learn this till today because I learn a little more every time Joe tells a story, but I don't know if y'all caught it earlier, but he mentioned that there's a huge 3-letter agency building out there, like
yeah,
very close. And we're talking about grasshoppers don't get in there without authorization.
yeah,
So the fact that you've got this facility right there in the middle
so
of a base next to a firing range with 3 other sightings and yours, it's amazing to me because it's just over and over again. You see this kind of stuff to where these things basically just come and go at will.
yeah, so and I was explaining to some folks, and Johnny, you and Angie earlier, that as far as I know, most of that impact area is only during the spring, when it's able to do controlled burns. They're able to go into certain areas and do range maintenance, and do some burning of the brush. I think in December, it's kind of kept as like a trophy deer management area for the post. But December, January, I think it's the only time it is ever open. Um, for hunters to actually get in. I know this because when we were setting up the targets at some of the other ranges, we had to actually open the gates to get down and go set things up. And next thing you know, here comes dude in the pickup truck, and they and they're trying to deer hunt,
Right.
which is allowed on many bases. But anyways, when they saw the gate open, man, that was their opportunity. Man, I'm going in this trophy buck area, because it's normally closed, lock and key gate year
Mm-hmm.
round, except for certain weekends. And we had to tell these folks, no, hey, we're setting up a sniper competition. It's not open for hunting, you
Right.
know. So for the remainder of the year, I mean, this mega 1,000 acre plus uh, piece of land is kept quiet, right?
Yeah.
I always kind of said, well, if you didn't want to be found, that's one of the best places to hide out.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a lot of room to get lost in, man.
yeah, if you got cover, concealment, you got water, you got food,
massive buck.
Yeah, exactly. One of the biggest bucks in the area was killed. In that area. I believe the biologists even plant like food plots and there and all that and back in there, but it's relatively untouched. And that South Prong Creek, when you look on a map.
Yeah, what are we looking at here on this map?
So here on this map, this is the actual creek. Now this is the range where, that we are at that day. This is this little red arrow here.
Uh-huh.
So that's where my sighting was. So the thing was moving in this direction. If you read the BFRO report that was submitted, like 1979, they talked about this South Prong Creek, and sure enough,
so it was going towards that creek whenever you saw it cross the road.
Yep, across the creek. So here's a little bit closer view of the sighting area. This is that service road here. There's a big NFL complex. Anyways, this is the range. So you're talking about 1,000 yards from the fire line back to here. This area here is when you read that BFR report 1979, it's talking about the junction of three creeks, and that's that spot right there in that BFR report right here. So the two ladies that had the sighting, this creek runs this way, and anyways, their sighting was a little bit more I would say southeast, but less. I mean, no more than a mile from where my sighting was.
Yeah, I actually looked it up, and it's all three of them were within a mile of each other.
Yeah.
Whenever you sent me all the information a while back.
Yeah. So so the thing that gets me is that this, is that this thing, it was, and I truly believe that what those two ladies saw was the same thing I saw, or a relative, a family member of it.
Yeah.
But mine was in May. Theirs was in early part of January, and obviously you got two other reports that are on the BFRO's database from that area.
Right.
Man, it just makes you wonder. Now I am by no means an ape expert or whatnot. I am very good though at spotting targets through a spotting scope.
Yeah.
I spent 15 years of my military career having to do such things. This wasn't a bear that decided to just stand up and walk across this dirt road.
Right.
It was not.
In other words, you know what you saw.
Yeah, I know what I saw.
Right.
And I know it should not have been there. And to this day, and that's what bothers me. It's like, with as many safety checks and as controlled as having range exercises, live fire exercises on a military installation, on a military range, that that should have never happened. We're not on Uncle Bubba's back 40.
Right.
These ranges are very manicured. The military spends a lot of money in upkeep, and this should not have been there. Was it a lost soldier? No. Yeah. It was not a worker or a timber cruiser or nothing like that, because they would have had to check in at a range control office.
Right.
And there was none of that day. It was just us using and occupying the range we were on and shooting. And all my shooters that day were in front of me.
Well, just a little bit of a warning to kind of the audience, and this was brought up by whoever was in charge that Joe talked to before he came on here and started telling his story, but if you are a Sasquatch investigator or enthusiast and think that it's a good idea to sneak in there and look for this Sasquatch that's been seen 3 or 4 times, do not do it.
No.
It is right next to this 3-letter agency, and you're going to wind up in prison, and it's going to be federal prison. I'm just throwing that out there. I know most people are smart enough not to try to do something like that, but Joe's he's putting himself on the line a little bit by giving exact locations, but that's kind of what we're trying. That's what we want to do. Is not. We don't want to keep everything in the dark. We'll tell us all the truth that we can without getting in trouble. So y'all just stay away from that range.
Stay away. Yeah, definitely. And so something I was telling Jonny and Angie earlier, was that the fact that, for our competition, of course, we had a lot of questions. All right, could we have media? Could we have photographers? And all that was allowed, but the one thing that they told us not to do was no drones. No drones. And okay, all right, I had to ask why, and they said, well, there is a recreation stable, a horseback riding stable, right? Not too far, actually between the ranges and this agency complex, and they had hired a marketing crew to come out and do some real nice video work of the stables, just kind of like make a commercial. Well, sure enough, this videographer comes out, didn't know the rules. They, thought they'd get some nice aerial shots, and they fly their little drone up in the air, and a few minutes later, that drone goes whizzing off in a direction, and lands, and there's 3 SUVs there with some people who said they were commandeering the drone.
So they actually hacked into the drone, and brought it over their SUV.
And so so I know I was telling all the media folks that came out to it, I was like, no drones, no drones, and if you think you're gonna be smart, they got a way of doing it. And you know what,
that's funny.
Yeah, it is, but it's also how serious that security is in around that area, but for the most part, folks, I mean, it's I would not encourage it, because that small arms impact area, what does that mean? That means ammunition was shot into that area, back in the day, they shot mortars through grenades back in there. So there's
all made by the lowest bidder.
And so there's areas back there that you have unexploded ordnance, so you just don't want to go roam around back there and all of a sudden, hey, look, it looks like the back of a can, I'm gonna kick it. You know what? You do that, something bad happens, you end up like me. I mean, but because I know how serious of a safety issue it is on a military range like that. That's what bothers me, and that's why I reached out to Jonny. I've been interested in this subject ever since. And Angie was able to take a report from me. She typed it up real nice, and hopefully we'll have that posted back up on on the Facebook page again, for people to see.
We've been holding off until the first episode to kind of put anything on the Facebook page, but as of tonight, we will start adding stuff. So
but anyways, that was my incident and my sighting. I don't spend my weekends going out looking.
Where'd Angie go?
Busy doing so much other stuff. Her device is not connected.
Uh-oh.
But well, that's okay. We'll get her back.
Yeah,
yeah, she's not connected, but that's okay.
It took a while for all of us to get it all this figured out, but we'll get it going. we're not professional podcasters or videographers, but
yeah,
we'll get it down eventually.
yeah. And sorry if you guys see me like looking the other way. My computer's off to my right. It's hard with this leg to fit up underneath the desk these days, you know. But so kind of have to keep my nub off to the side, you know.
Your nub.
Yeah,
McNubbin.
McNubbin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Johnny, what you know, you want to share some things coming up in the future?
Yeah, we got a couple things going on. One, if you can go ahead and just kind of give you've got a couple friends, a couple stories that'll be coming up. You want to explain a few of those? You don't have to really go into detail, but just kind of hint at what they're about and who they are.
Yeah, you know, so I've had some friends in the obviously in the outdoor industry that, you know, when they film and on location in various parts of the country, you know, they've had some weird sightings themselves. And you know what, you know, every now and then I'll, you know, when I run across the folks, you know, I'm like, hey, you guys ever see anything? You know, and some folks come forth with this stuff. So
right.
I reached out to some of them to come on and share some of their experiences, and then also you know, we're gonna have some people with some industry company reps that, you know, kind of come on and talk about some devices, you know, that I see
A
that
bunch of Bigfoot gear, thermals and game cameras and stuff.
Yeah, that I see a lot of folks use. So we'll have to get you. We'll be getting them back on the show in the future, and then, you know, hopefully do some cool little giveaway stuff. But, you know, really it's just kind of share stories, you know, experiences. You know, Johnny's kind of been like the resident field investigator. He's the one out there.
Well,
doing
we'll
all
get
that
you.
stuff. Yeah.
I mean, you kind of just had your leg cut off, so you get a little bit of slack, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do have an area very close to my own personal property that I've been looking at for a while, and I will be what I was doing was posting it on the little Facebook group I have, but now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to be adding videos of just my active investigations. Also, what I'm going to eventually do is make videos from start to finish of everything that's happened on my property over the couple of years. And you can see behind me, I got my little dry erase board going on over here. And I'm just going to go through and just put everything that's happened in every spot and kind of when it happened. But we're mainly, if y'all can't already tell, we're mainly just, we're going to focus on stories from veterans, the outdoor industry,
law enforcement,
stuff like that. And it's not that other people's stories don't count. It's just mainly our wheelhouse, and especially Joe's. He's got a lot of connections in that industry. So that's really, we really don't have a goal as in something we want to accomplish except for the truth. And that is it. We just want, I don't know why. I've got a few guesses on why. I don't know why we're not told about these things. I have kids. I have young kids. And to be honest with you, it kind of ticked me off when I found out that these things were real. Is that because if my simple butt can figure this out, then obviously the people in charge of everything, they've known or do know. But we're just going to do it on our own. We're going to try to get individuals who have experienced it, seen it. We call it the Encounter Brigade because we're not just going to talk about Sasquatch. That's mainly what we're into, really. But, you know, people who have stories about orbs, you know, some UFOs every once in a while. We probably won't focus a whole lot on that stuff, but I mean,
And it's been making the news a lot, like every
Right.
day on Fox. Fox News is like every day reports coming. I mean, it's even today. It just wow.
Right.
So
More
I
and more
mean,
stuff's coming out.
yeah, and I'm glad that some pilots, naval aviators or whatnot,
Hmm.
were strong enough to come forward and with their sighting testimony, much like mine. So that's
Well, unfortunately, when you tell the truth about stuff like this that's not supposed to exist, it comes with a lot of flack sometimes, So,
yeah,
I mean, you got to automatically know that when you tell a story about something like this, about half the people are going to be like, this guy's full of garbage.
yeah,
But it is what it is. You tell the truth, and
yeah,
it's nobody's fault that people have experienced these things. It's not something that I'm sure a lot of people would want to have happen again, but it happens, and there's no reason to not talk about it. And personally, it's one of the most interesting things to me. I don't understand why everybody's not obsessed with Sasquatch. you know, so I think it's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah.
But we will. I don't guess Angie's popping back on tonight,
No, no.
but
Well, we'll get her back up on episode 2. Let her kind of talk a little bit more.
yeah,
Tonight
she's
was
had some crazy experiences with, I believe, some paranormal stuff.
yeah. That seems to be
So
her big interest. So we'll
she's
definitely
experienced some weird stuff.
yep. So all right, Johnny. Well, man,
All right, man.
thanks for convincing me to get
Oh
on
no,
and do this, and this has been fun.
I forgot one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are we're talking about upcoming projects. Me
Yeah.
and Mike Taylor are both going to be a part of the next 168 hours shot down in Florida with Carrie Arnold and Bigfoot Odyssey. So we're looking
Oh,
forward to that. We're getting rigged up, ready to go
nice,
for that.
nice.
Yep. So we got that going on. I'm actually, you guys go check out Central Florida Bigfoot, Matt Larson. He is a professional cameraman for a news station down there. He's doing Bigfoot stuff. He's actually the one that has talked me through buying my camera setup and everything. So he's a really good guy. I'm actually going to be getting up with him here in a couple weeks. I think maybe the 20th. I'll be getting up with him at a spot in Florida. So those are two things that for sure we have coming up. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's about all I have.
All righty. Well, you want to tell people where to get some more information, our email, and
Yeah, we've got a Proton Mail address. It's Encounter Brigade at protonmail.com. And we also have a Google or a Gmail.
Gmail.
So it's Encounter Brigade at gmail.com. So that's two of them. You can use either one. It doesn't matter to me.
Yep.
But if you've got a story you want to tell, you have any questions you want to ask, or any topics you want us to cover, and I'll tell you this straight up, and I told somebody this the other day. If you tell me not to say something to anyone, that's as far as it goes. And that's how it worked with me and Joe. He told me I knew about his sighting a while before I actually even asked permission to start kind of telling it, and I still didn't say who it was. But that's kind of what we're doing. If you don't want people to know who you are, or you just want somebody to talk to, you set the level that you're comfortable with your own exposure. Okay, because I'm not gonna drag people out into this that don't want to be drug out. But if you want to talk to somebody, we actually have people set aside just for that, to talk to people who want to talk. But that's pretty much it, man.
All right. Well, man, good discussion. I think good first episode. Hopefully, people got something out of this.
Yeah, dude, right at an hour, man. I think we might be professionals and we didn't know it.
Yeah, man. Well, that's good. That's good. Anyways, man, I look forward to the next one. The next, hearing some more of your personal incidents and reports, and you do some phenomenal video work out there in the field. I'm always like, can't wait to see what you're catching next, and you got some phenomenal stuff going on. So
got some weird stuff going on, man. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
and it just gets weirder and weirder sometimes.
Yep. All right, man. Well, let's
All
wrap
right.
up, and then we'll get this uploaded.
All
Okay,
right.
man. All right, man.
Talk to
Good
you
night.
later. All right.